Welcome into Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Maria Wainscott, and joined with me today.
This is Newhouse Afternoon.
All good.
Let's try that again. Welcome into Newhouse Afternoon this Friday. I'm Maria Wainscott, and joined with me today is Ari Feinstein and my other co-host, Jacob Charno. We're super excited to welcome you in this Friday, talk about a bunch of Syracuse sports and some other New York sports as MLB free agency is officially underway. Jacob, talk to me a little bit about what we liked from Syracuse football this past weekend against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, so you look at that Virginia Tech game, and you look at their upcoming game this week against Boston College. Definitely going to be a tougher effort, I think, this week against Boston College. They are +2 on the road. Kyle McCord, though, I think had a very solid game against Virginia Tech. Definitely a bounce back from that game against Pitt. 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, but that happens, like I said, when you're throwing the ball that many times. LaQuinn Allen, that was, what a fantastic performance for him.
Really?
Finally finding that footing that we knew he could. 21 carries, 121 yards. Found the end zone 3 times. Just overall, a really great effort from the Orange to beat a Virginia Tech team that is very talented. That was a very good win.
Yeah, absolutely, Jacob. You hit it right on the head. Going back to LaQuinn Allen, he's been on fire. I know a few weeks ago we talked about him being one of the main guys that had to step up, and he has really filled into his role as a starting running back in his second year, and he's even been setting a bunch of different school records this season. He set a pair of school records in Syracuse's win against Virginia Tech. He caught 5 passes against the Hokies, increasing his career total to 97. That is the highest total for a Cuse running back in Cuse history, who he surpassed the previous record of 92 held by Antoine Bailey. So that was pretty awesome. He's really turning into a superstar for the Orange.
Yeah, while we're on the LaQuinn Allen train, let's talk about the fact he was named the East-West Shrine Bowl Breakout Offensive Player of the Week. Wow, that's a mouthful, but love it for him. He's one of the ACC's top running backs. It's super exciting for our program. It bodes super well also for an offensive player that could potentially be looked at as a high draft pick as well. I think it's also important to kind of look at what Syracuse's coaching staff is saying about him. This is, his second overtime winning game touchdown. It's so exciting. Coach Brown said in his press conference afterwards, as you see in overtime, that's LaQuinn Allen Jr. time. It's just give LaQuinn the ball, and that's all you need to do. And I don't think Coach Brown could have said it any better. LaQuinn Allen is the explosive playmaker on this team, and while we thought in the preseason in some of our early shows, Aranda Gadsden may have been that person, Trevor Pena was definitely fighting for that top spot, but right now LaQuinn Allen Jr. is just cementing himself as our explosive player of this year.
Yeah, and you want to look at the receiving talent on this team. Before the season, we were talking about Aranda Gadsden every game needing to have huge games for this offense to succeed. That's just not the case. We saw it against Virginia Tech. Justice Ross Simmons, 4 catches, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. What a way to introduce himself to the Syracuse University.
Absolutely.
Trevor Pena. Awesome game from him, 7 for 83. Just reliable guys that Kyle McCord can go to is going to change the entire dynamic of this offense going forward. And it's the reason why, I'm excited for their bowl game. I really think that they can get a pretty good bowl game this season.
I know, and with that win, it's so exciting. It's official that Syracuse becomes bowl eligible for the 3rd consecutive year, and it's the first time that they're playing in 5 straight bowls since 1995 to 1999. It's really amazing. And I know on that topic of Aranda Gadsden, not necessarily getting the productivity that we thought he would. I know you had some things to say about that.
Yeah, so with Aranda Gadsden, I feel like at the beginning of the season, everyone thought, like you said, he was going to be the main target. He was going to be the number 1 guy. He was going to flourish in the Syracuse offense. And we really haven't seen that this year because of the amount of weapons that we had, but we couldn't have predicted that. But something that I noticed is I think part of the game plan starting off every single game is trying to get Aranda Gadsden the second going. He was projected to be a first round pick this season, and we just really haven't utilized him the way we thought. But he is always trying to be incorporated in the game plan. And I checked out the numbers. In the first and second quarter, he's being utilized way more than in the second half, which is pretty remarkable stuff. In the first quarter, he has 24 catches for over 300 yards. But when you look at the second half stats, he only has 11 receptions for only 150 yards. So I don't know if they're moving away from him because of the amount of weapons we have, kind of keeping him as a distraction or something. But it's just really interesting to see that he's not really being utilized the way that we thought he would be utilized all season long.
Yeah, I think when you look at those first half stats, you have to think a lot of it is game script, and a lot of it is, they go into the game with the intention of getting him the ball as many times as they can. But in reality, when stuff starts to fall apart, you have to go to the guys that you can trust and are getting open, and I haven't watched the film, but if he's not getting open, just as Ross Simmons was, Trevor Pena was, the important part is that somebody is getting open. And additionally, Kyle McCord isn't too concerned because he does have that option in the backfield if he needs to throw it in the flat to LaQuinn Allen. So I think it's more a fact of a lot of wealth on the offense rather than an issue with Aronde Gadsden. He is going to be a fantastic NFL player. Yeah. I am very confident.
Yeah,
in that.
I'm not worried about Aronde Gadsden. I do think, too, people are forgetting a little bit about his high end of productivity against UNLV in that game at Allegiant Stadium. I mean, he broke so many program records after that game. I think a lot of programs that are playing Syracuse moving forward were like, we got to double team this guy. There's no way we can get him open because he's going to continue to drive through our defense. On a little bit of a different note, still regarding Syracuse football, there was some breaking news that was announced yesterday around 3 p.m. on ESPN Syracuse. Coach Brown announced that Marcellus Barnes Jr. is out for the rest of the season. Why is this a big deal? Why does that matter? He played in 5 games as a freshman, which, for those of you who know, that is the magic number. He cannot play in 5 games and still log this year as a redshirt year. He still can't even take a medical redshirt year, even though there are unlimited amounts of medical redshirt years that you can take. 5 games is that magic number, and now he has to sit this one out. It's an issue for our defense.
I mean, like you said, this is a huge loss for our defense. He's been so productive in that cornerback role, especially as a freshman. He's going to develop into one heck of a player over the course of his time here at Syracuse. So that we're going to have to fill in his role, just like we did for Marlo Wax over the course of the season. Somebody in this defense is going to have to step up, take his place, and really set the tone for this defense moving forward in the secondary.
Yeah, I think the thing with Fran Brown also is it's that next guy up mentality. You have a game against Boston College this week. You can't let that stay in your team morale. Next guy up. This Boston College game is not going to be an easy one. I think Syracuse is going to pull out the win in this one because you look at it, Boston College just played Virginia Tech. They got blown out by Virginia Tech. They lost by 3 scores. Syracuse just feels like they're playing harder. They played really hard in that game against Virginia Tech, and it's hard to stop momentum, especially in college football.
Definitely. And what you said about Fran Brown and this difficult Boston College matchup, he said on Monday in his press conference that the key to a faster start this week, which was our issue against against Virginia Tech in those first 2 quarters, just having sloppy first halves, the key to this faster start will be better tackling and breaking some tackles. I mean, it doesn't get more simple, but it doesn't get better than that. It's a great assessment, and we need to start faster this week.
Absolutely. And this week against BC, I think the game plan here is our defense needs to win us this game. You know, Boston College's defense is 3rd ranked in the ACC. But with that being said, Coach Fran Brown, he really needs to game plan around this, right? And we really need to utilize our offense, attack their secondary, even though it's been so good, because we just need to play to our strengths at the end of the day. I think that's what the point I was ultimately trying to get at here is that we just need to play to our strengths. We need to take advantage of our defense against the 14th ranked offense in the ACC, which is BC. So if we're going to win this game, it's got to be on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
and you want to mention Marcellus Bennett, all that. Like, if there was a game where that next guy up can figure it out, it's the game against the 14th ranked offense in the ACC. So we'll see. But I'm pretty confident in the Orange this week.
I think so
Boston
too.
College.
I agree. And I think Syracuse has this game because they love to be the underdog. And unfortunately, this week we are the underdog according to Vegas, just by the slimmest margins. But, you know, we're coming off a positive week, a big win, overtime win against Virginia Tech. That's just so confidence building for us as a team. And I think, we faced Stanford in a very similar situation a few weeks ago. And I'm really impressed by the way that the coaching staff has been able to pivot when there's time management decisions that have to be made in order to get us to the next level of play, whether it's overtime, whether it's a big win. The way that Syracuse has reacted in this positive momentum, it's going to be good. We're not coming off a bye. We're not coming off a slump week. I'm excited to see what they can do. And Boston College is 3 straight losses deep, and they're coming off a bye week. So I think we need to continue to capitalize on that momentum that we have coming off a positive week, showing that we have changed how we can execute on really tight games. And hopefully we can overtake this Boston College team that we are ranked slightly lower than this week.
It's another one of those games where you have to come out hot in the first half. You cannot let it fall apart in the second quarter like we've talked about. You have to, coming off a bye week, this team is rested, but they're rusty. You have to get in there, score points in the first half. Get up in the first half. Don't let them come back. Make it a margin that is just too much for the offense to overcome, and just go in there and get that big one.
Agreed. All right, guys. Well, we are done talking about Syracuse football for the week, and next we're moving on to men's and women's hoops. We'll be right back.
Catch head coach Fran Brown's post-game press conference thanks to...
Thank you.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Yep.
We got men's, women's hoops next.
Yep. Sorry about the beginning of that, guys. I was like,
Oh,
whoa.
no
That was
worries.
so
It's
not
like,
your
wow.
fault.
No, yeah, it wasn't your fault at all.
So not your fault.
You were excited. You were excited
I was
to get
excited.
going.
I was like, wow.
No worries.
I wasn't sure we were still going to do our promo. I thought we were just jumping right in.
It's all good. All right, so men's and women's hoops. Here we go. I thought that was great, though.
That was an
We
awesome
got to talk about a lot of different
Yeah,
things. The
a
Quint,
lot.
Aronde, what we think's going to happen this week. That was really
Definitely.
Yo, Georgia Tech is like going to beat Miami this week, and it's going to be everyone's
I
going to
hope
lose
so.
their minds. Everyone's going to lose it.
That would be crazy.
But like also it could get weird, and Virginia Tech could like absolutely be Clemson, and it's just going to this is going to be a weird week.
Yeah. All we got to do is just take care of business.
Yeah.
Indiana is minus 700 against Michigan.
Seriously? Jeez.
That's obscene.
That is crazy.
Oh my God, 87% of the money on Georgia this week. Hammering.
I think,
Ole Miss.
yeah.
All over Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is a good pick this week. They struggled against Florida, Georgia. So we'll see. We'll talk about that later, though.
I'm gonna go in on Carson Beck.
Yeah,
He's playing
definitely,
himself
as
out
you
of the
should.
first round. Or
He's played
even
himself
out of the first and second round.
He's played himself into a position where he might need to come back to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Jeez. So many tours going on in Newhouse today.
Yeah, really.
There always are. We always got.
It's always like, yeah, it's always Friday, Saturday.
It's got
I
a
feel
cheeky,
like.
cheeky crowd.
Whoa, give me some gold.
NFL parlay. Let's see.
My parlays have become one leg away for 3 straight weeks, and I'm losing it. I'm losing it.
I get it.
I pick every Sunday I pick 5 teams, and I just parlay them $5, and every single week 4 of them hit, and there's one team that just can't get the job done.
Oh, like the Jets game is so weird.
Who are they playing this week?
They're playing Arizona in Arizona.
That'll be weird.
Ooh, that is a weird matchup.
They're like 1.5 point favorites, but they opened as 1.5 point dogs.
What's the Giant spread?
They're minus 6.5.
Wow, we're huge
In Germany, I will not be waking up for Giants Panthers on Sunday morning. I can promise.
I won't either.
I can promise you that I will not be doing that.
I don't know. I
feel
don't
bad.
care what.
I feel
I don't
bad for
care
the people in Germany.
what time that they're playing. I'm not waking up. I'm not watching that game.
People in Germany, they're super hyped to get a game, a big
They're
NFL
sending
game.
Daniel Jones and Bryce Young. Are we kidding?
It's like a joke.
What? They're both 2-6, 2-7. Oh, so funny.
Where is the money? Like, who is that? Oh, it's like dead even. No one knows what to do with this.
Those poor people of Germany. They're having a mid-off. Men's hoops.
Awesome.
Cool.
Cowboys Eagles. Oh, but Dak's not playing, so
Yeah, birds.
Don't
Birds
matter.
are
When
gonna
I get
lock it up.
counted, when I get counted back in, is there anything I listen for before I go?
it'll do like the same
'Kay.
like intro.
So I don't jump in.
Yeah.
Newhouse afternoon.
Get really excited.
Yeah. There was that one week where it didn't do it and it confused me.
We were like, oh, okay.
Cool.
Okay, no worries.
it's all right.
I just felt bad. I didn't want to make the show look bad. Can't believe Christmas is like coming up.
It's the same time as Hanukkah this year, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Big time.
I know. All the holidays. I love
That's
when that
awesome.
happens.
I love when that happens too.
Everyone's in the holiday spirit.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Maria Wainscott, joined by Jacob Charno and Ari Feinstein. We are kicking off this second segment talking about men's and women's hoops for Syracuse this year. Now, the game against Lemoyne was a surprising one, and we know what happened on Monday, but we've got to talk about what happened. It was a close one. It was far closer than it should have been, and you know what? Lemoyne coach Nate Champion said, we'll just have to take this one on the chin, let it sting because it does hurt. We almost had it. It was really a close one. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, so, I mean, for Orange fans, you got the win. You can be happy about that. But I feel like it was kind of a bittersweet feeling for all the Orange fans. You know, everybody's super excited heading into year 2 of Red Autry's administration as head coach. And there was just so much to look forward to. We got a bunch of new transfers, a bunch of new players. And the first game, it was pretty disappointing, you know? So
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But you have to, this is such a new team. I'm so not concerned with this. This happened last year with Colgate. It happens every year with Colgate, actually. And then Lemoyne, the only reason I would be concerned is because Lemoyne just got blown out in their next game against a not as strong squad as Syracuse.
Cal State Northridge.
Yeah, I applied there. No, but you look at you have Donnie Freeman, Eddie Lampkin, Jaquan Carlos, Jair Davis, all these guys who are all fresh playing together. Yeah. You have to give them some wiggle room to kind of find their footing, find their place in the offense. I'm not too concerned, but honestly, what a performance from Jair Davis. Yeah. 22 points, 12 boards, 26 minutes. That's what you need. He came off the bench too, right? That's obscene. What a fantastic game from him.
I know, exactly on that. Coach Autry had lots to say about Jair Davis. He had a 22-point game and a 12-rebound debut. He said if he didn't come in and do what he did, we would have lost that game. We still almost lost the game. He was huge. He made tough baskets. He scored, rebounded, and he was big for us. Without Davis, we don't win that game.
Yeah, absolutely. Jair Davis, what a player. What a transfer to get from UDEL, and he's only just going to merge into this offense really well. We scored 86 points this game, all right? I don't want that. Sure, we gave up 82 to Lemoyne, but we scored 86, right? The offensive production is there. And the one thing that Syracuse fans can look forward to is that over the course of the season, this team is only going to gain more chemistry, right?
Absolutely.
Jaquan Carlos, he had a tough game, only 4 points, 1 for 6 shooting, but at the same time, like Jacob said, everyone's getting used to this new offense. They've only played 3 games together, 1 regular season and 2 exhibition games, right? They still have to find their footing a little bit. So, like Jacob said, can't get too ahead of ourselves, can't be too worried, and just got to focus on Colgate.
And on that same note, Elijah Moore, he's a guy who's eventually going to get worked into this lineup. Only played 2 minutes in this game, but he's eventually going to start getting worked into that rotation. Honestly, if I want to be critical of anybody in this game, and it's not even a big one, but if you're Eddie Lampkin, you're the center. You need to grab more than 3 boards in a game. That's why we got him. Big body from Colorado. You have to go in there. You have one job, and it is to grab rebounds, and that is it. Grab rebounds and play defense. And you know, in the 19 minutes that he did play, I didn't see what I wanted to from him, but I'm not concerned going forward.
Right. The other requisite with Eddie Lampkin is playing clean, right? You can't get 2 fouls in 6 minutes, and that's why Jair Davis was able to make the appearance that he was able to make. And I think, again, it speaks volumes to these guys who know their roles on the team, even though either we're dealing with, rookies or we're dealing with transfers. Someone like Jair Davis is really impressive to me. He didn't crack the starting lineup. And for a lot of people, that could be a blow to the ego. But instead, he comes off cold off the bench and makes a huge impact, so much so that the head coach is saying we could not have won this game without him.
Yeah, and if you look at the bigger picture here, good teams, they pick each other up, and if Jair Davis was able to do this, realizing that his team needed some production, they needed to get something going because they could not lose this game to Lemoyne, freshly being a new Division I school. Yes, they had 5 new transfers, but at the same time, he realized, hey, this team needs a spark, and I'll be that guy that steps up, provides that sparks, and leads us to victory.
And look, you have upcoming games. You have Colgate coming up. You have Youngstown State coming up. Those are two games, figure it out games.
Yes,
for this
definitely.
squad. And then after that, you get Texas. So
figure it out.
That's you get Texas, boy. And then less than 2 weeks later, you get number 12 Tennessee. So you got some tough competition coming up. These next 2 games are absolutely crucial, not just to win, because Colgate, we could have the national championship reigning team and we would still have a close game against Colgate here, but you got to win. You got to figure it out. you got to get those guys meshed together so you can go in against Texas as a squad of one.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, we say it all the time with football, but with basketball, it matters even more. A win is a win, right? We got this.
Yep.
We logged it. We move forward. If we didn't win, it changes the entire dynamic of the season. We got to win out the next 20 in order to be legit, okay? So we defeat Lemoyne. We put that in the pocket. A win is a win. Next up, Colgate at Syracuse, November 12th at 7 p.m. We'll see if they figured out some of those issues. But for now, we're moving on to women's hoops and Coach Jack's amazing women's team this season. They opened up against Niagara and had an amazing 108-84 victory. Ari, what do you have on this team?
Yeah, so women's hoops. One of the biggest questions coming into this season is who's going to fill the role of Deaisha Fair, Elena Rice, and Alyssa Latham. You know, 3 huge offensive producers last year, especially Deaisha Fair being a top 3 scorer in NCAA hoops of all time for women's. And there was a lot of questions that were being raised for this women's team. You know, who was going to fill into these roles? Is it going to be returning players? Is it going to be new players? You know, who was going to step up and be this main offensive production player? And the reality is it's not one person. It's the whole team that is going to produce. In their game against Niagara, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players to reach the 10-point mark.
Wow. And
every single player is producing. We saw freshman Shai Hawkins score 16 points. We saw freshman Kira Scott knocked down 14 points.
Wow.
And that was off the bench too, you know? So if they're getting this offensive production from their starting 5, if they have 2 extra players on the bench that are scoring 30 points combined, you know, this Syracuse team, sure it was against Niagara, they're not super strong, but it's a start. And they showed that there's a lot of chemistry here and that this team is going to be super, super deep.
And you mentioned it, I definitely agree. So you look like Deaisha Fair is going. You look at last season with Deaisha Fair, obviously one of the best basketball players in this school's history, but it's not going to be one person who comes in. And I think what's going to be interesting is that they don't have that star first round kind of player on their squad this season, but they absolutely have the chemistry, and it's absolutely going to be a lot of players contributing. I'm looking at Kira Wood. I'm looking at Georgia Woolley, who I think is going to have a huge year. And then you have players like Dominique Camp, Isabel Verajao, who just the outlook looks good for them. They play well together. This squad, like I said, squad of one. The chemistry is there. Coach Jack has been amazing since she has gotten here to Syracuse, and I'm looking forward to what this team does going forward.
Yeah, I think both of you nailed it. Between, you know, how they're spreading around the ball and then sort of this team mentality, playing as a unit with unit strength. Coach Jack said the exact same thing following the game. She said it's a team effort this year on offense compared to last. This year we're going to have to do it a little bit different. We're going to push the pavement with passes, and we're going to share it differently. It's a big deal. I mean, the way that she was able to finally get some people who she's recruited into this lineup, along with a lot of transfers and veterans, this is the perfect recipe for a great year. And you mentioned Dom Camp. I think she is a fantastic addition to this team. Obviously, a long road to get here, a winding road, not just with, you know, transferring and then getting recruited by Syracuse and eventually being able to play. It has been that rehab after that torn ACL last season in the first exhibition game against St. Rose. Her time with Syracuse ended within the first few minutes of her playing, and I know that her teammates are excited to have her back. I know Coach Jack is thrilled. She even said in their hype video that, you know, if she had to put anyone to war for this team, it would be Dom Camp. And so I know her teammates are excited to have her back, and that's the fire that they need to carry them through this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to bring up FLJ here, right? Because she is the huge piece to this team's puzzle, right? She is 45 and 21 since taking over as Syracuse's head coach. You know, that is just unbelievable. She's established a winning culture here at SU. She's a player's coach. She cares deeply about her squad. Last season, we saw like that mother-daughter relationship between her and Deaisha Fair. You know, it's her building this squad and really buying into every single player, wanting to get to know them, wanting to utilize their assets to really make this team special. You know, and a few days ago when they played against Niagara, they really showed what they can be as a team. So I just wanted to give a little bit of love to FLJ right there, and for what she's done and what she's going to continue to do for the Syracuse squad.
Absolutely, and I think the real test for this team comes on November 13th. Get this team ready. You have a huge home game against 18th ranked Maryland. If you can win that game, the outlook on this season becomes a lot more exciting for the Orange.
Really exciting. We will continue with women's basketball a little bit more in our next segment. We've got a few quotes from Isabel Verajao just chatting about the level of competition that this team and FLJ are expecting to play this season and the standards they have set for themselves. Next segment, we're also talking about MLB free agency, and these two, Yankees and Mets, have a lot to say about it. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Sunday, the Orange women are back at it against.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
That was awesome.
Good stuff.
Good stuff, y'all.
I forgot that, I always forget, when basketball season starts for Syracuse, I always completely forget about football season.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I start, when I'm prepping for the show, I'm looking at all this basketball stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, we
still have
we
a
also
game.
have to talk about
Yeah.
football. We're also talking about football.
Yeah.
Oh, this Soto segment is gonna be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Do you have a number that you wrote down that you would pay him?
I can do some. I can write down a number.
Because I've got my number. I've got my contract.
All right, hold on. I gotta do some. All right. I gotta do some math here.
I've got my contract.
I gotta throw this into the calculator. Because I got a number that I think the Yankees are going to offer him, but I also got a number that I think the Mets are going to offer him. Because I do think that the numbers will be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was my number.
So I will just lead off. I talked to Isabel Verajao, who's one of the guards on the team. She just said, she won the Alco Hard Hat of the Week, which is a big deal. It's like the award for the team's best hustler. But even she said she feels like when they play competition that are not on their level, she plays down to the level. So we can all kind of wrap up that quick conversation about the dominance of our women's team this year, and then we'll segue right into MLB.
Cool. Love it.
Awesome.
Great.
I'm excited for this one.
Yo, I think my parlay hit last week.
Did it?
Or 2 weeks ago. I'm pretty sure it did. I'll check.
It's crazy. This is just personal opinion, but I think we sound so much better as a unit now compared to our first show.
Without a doubt.
I do too. I feel
without
like
a
our
doubt.
first show we got thrown into the fire, and I feel like because there was an audience, I feel like we did very well.
Yeah.
I really do. I think we obviously always grow, but
Yeah, but from our first show to now,
Yeah.
it's so much more natural.
I agree.
And there's no nerves. I remember the first show, I was like, oh boy.
I know, Sam, we were so nervous.
Yeah.
Ah.
But now it's just we're just talking sports.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Ooh.
Oh, it didn't hit. It missed by a hook. That's tough.
Brutal.
Cowboys couldn't cover the 4.5.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not good at sports betting. I'm just donating.
neither.
I'm just donating money.
Me neither.
My hard-earned money.
I've actually been good. I've been good on college football.
Yeah, I can't. I just bet on the NFL. Sometimes.
There's no value on the NFL anymore. That's the issue.
I know.
You're not gonna find. If you look at this week's lines, the Broncos are 7.5 point underdogs against the Chiefs. You can't bet that.
Yeah,
you can't bet that. Bucks plus 6.5 at home. Steelers plus 3.5.
Who are they playing against this week?
They're at Washington.
Ooh.
Playing the commies. I'm taking the commies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels just diff.
Give me Jaden Daniels.
He's diff.
Jaden.
It's so weird.
Very,
it's so
very
gross. But the money isn't even on Washington. That is a weird line. Jets minus 1.5. What is that? What is that?
That's.
Oh God.
That's Jacob's on the other side. I'm Ari. I just.
Broadcasting stars
Sorry.
today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Maria Wainscott. Joined with me is Jacob Charno and Ari Feinstein. We're wrapping up a quick conversation on women's basketball here at Syracuse and their dominance. I talked to Isabel Verjao this week about her performance. She won the first Alco Hard Hat of the season, which is an honor in the Syracuse women's basketball locker room. Whoever is the biggest hustler, who is just grinding through those games, getting some serious stats on the board. She had 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 4 blocks. But even she said that her performance wasn't up to her standard for herself. She said that she expects more from herself, and when the team plays opponents like Niagara, she feels her game almost playing down to their level. So that tells me a lot and gives me a lot of hope for what this team can achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. And Isabel Verjao, last season, she only played 17 games because of her injury, didn't get the playing time that she wanted. So she's looking to really cement herself in this starting role as the Syracuse center. And if she's hard on herself, even after a game like that, who knows how good she'll be against those top-rated teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is also from, Coach Leah Jack coming in, expecting a lot from her players, everybody on that team. That's why they're so hard on themselves. And when you have players that are that hard on themselves, it just shows that they care. And this is absolutely a team with heart that cares about the game. And I think we'll continue playing hard and for each other for the rest of the season.
I agree completely. Well, that's a great way to wrap up our segment on extraordinary women's basketball players. Let's start talking about some extraordinary New York baseball. Boys, I know you're really excited. I know you're not super happy about the way the World Series went. We haven't had a show since then. We can recap that as well. But there's a lot of great players on the table, particularly one that sticks out in my mind. Talk to me about where this player might end up, and if there's anyone else that you're really thinking about might make an impact on either of your New York baseball teams.
So first, I don't really want to talk about the World Series. That was really upsetting, and I will say, Ari, you were correct. I think, did you have Dodgers in 5?
I had Dodgers in 6.
Dodgers in 6.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had it all the way up until that 5th inning. The way up until that 5th inning. I mean, what an embarrassing performance from the Yankees.
Yep.
Like, that's the way you go out. That's how you do it. It's not the fact that they lost in 5 games. It's the fact that they lost Game 5 the way they did.
Yeah.
Because it was representative of everything that went wrong the entire season.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you do. Aaron Boone isn't going anywhere. Brian Cashman's not going anywhere. You just got to adapt and keep going. And one of the most important parts is getting Juan Soto back on this team. So, I mean, Ari, I will let you start as a Mets fan. Because I would love to hear what you have to say about Juan Soto. I know you want him. I will say already off the bat, I will pay Juan Soto literally any amount of money he wants. I will pay $2,000 for a chicken bucket in the Bronx if I have to. It does not matter to me. He needs to be a New York Yankee for life.
Yeah, so the biggest thing here when it comes to the chosen Juan Soto is that it all depends on what Steve Cohen pitches to Juan Soto to get him to leave the Yankees and come to the Mets, right? In my personal opinion, it's hard for me to say, but he is the Yankees to lose. I think he's a Yankee until the Yankees mess it up somehow, right? That's my personal opinion. But regardless, we found out yesterday that Steve Cohen is flying out to California to meet with Scott Boras and Juan Soto, Scott Boras' agent, and he's going to be the first team and the first owner to meet with Juan. So in your pitch to Juan Soto, you have to say, hey, you have to look at the bigger picture here. The Mets, my personal opinion, you can't get angry with me, Jacob, is that the Mets are set up better to be more successful in the near future. We have a top 10 ranked farm. We have 5 prospects in the top 100. Right? We're super young. We have our core talent with maybe Alonso if he resigns, but we have our core talent in Nimmo, Francisco Alvarez, Mark Vientos, who emerges as a superstar, and we have all this young talent like Drew Gilbert coming up, Luis Angel Acuna. We have Ryan Clifford, the first baseman in AA, who's raking. And we have all of this money now that's coming off the books, $170 million. And Steve Cohen, is going to spend literally any amounts of money to get Juan Soto. So if you include all of this in the pitch, say, we're the most set up team, plus we'll give you literally anything you want. And the biggest thing that I think Steve Cohen needs to say to Juan Soto is, we're not being the little brother anymore of New York. We're done with that narrative. We have set ourselves up perfectly to get you into this lineup and locked in for New York, into New York for the rest of your career. This has to be the pitch. And if the Mets are going to get Juan Soto, I think that they're going to offer him 14 years, $660 million, 47.1 per year.
Oh,
that's my contract prediction.
So that's an insane number because mine is very close to that. So on that note, I will say that I know you don't. I won't refer to the Mets as the little brother of New York because that's not fair. But
I mean, it is. It is true according to history.
It's true.
According to history, it is true.
But I won't say it. You're my friend. I can't do that. I will say I think that Soto and Scott Boras, who is the best in the game, he's going to use the Mets to leverage the Yankees and Brian Cashman.
Absolutely.
You look at what happened with Garrett Cole. They didn't extend him yet. Mm-hmm. I think they told Garrett Cole, 1 more year, we'll get Soto back. Let's run it back with Booney. Let's do it again. Mm-hmm. And I think Soto is on the same page, and I think it's just going to be him meeting with every other team. I mean, the Rays expressed interest in Juan Soto, obviously.
Yeah, they got to.
I don't think he's going to make more than Ohtani because when Ohtani got paid, he was also a pitcher. Like, he was also getting paid as a pitcher. Mm-hmm. So my number that I'll throw out is 14 years. I threw $650 million. But if the Mets do offer that number, I think the Yankees will bump it up to 670.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, do you think, this is more of just a general question, could we see a Juan Soto contract that begins with the number 7?
I was actually talking about this with my friends the other day. So I think no. I think no, but I will say if that contract starts with a 7, it's coming from Steve Cohen. It's not coming from the Yankees.
I agree with that. I think the cap that the Yankees are going to do is going to be 650, the number that you said.
I mean, how can you look at the Yankees raw? How can you be Brian Cashman? I'm worried about this because Brian Cashman has not made me happy in my life very many times.
Yeah.
So you look at this Yankees team. You just pay Aaron Judge all this money. You have Garrett Cole. You have Giancarlo Stanton, who might be coming back after one of the best playoff performances literally of all time. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're Juan Soto, you look at that team that was so close yet so far with the culture that they have and how much he's loved in the Bronx and how much he loves that team. I think it's going to be he's just going to get the most he can from the Yankees. And I think when you're looking at it from a career standpoint, you look at the last 20, 30 years of both squads in New York. If you're there for 15 years, the rest of your career, I mean, personally, I would rather be wearing pinstripes.
I mean, I personally would rather be out in Flushing, Queens, personally. But despite Juan Soto, there's still plenty of free agents out in the market. Yep. The Yankees, they got to fill that first base role.
That first base role. I got my guy. I mean, if we're throwing money at people, let's throw money at Christian Walker. Okay. Let's get him on the squad. If you want to go a little bit of a lower tier option, you can get Wilmer Flores. I think both of those guys would come in, be very good additions for this team. I don't think they roll with Ben Rice. I really hope they don't roll with Ben Rice.
Do you think that they could steal Pete Alonso from the Mets
so I knew you were
that role?
Me personally, I would not do that. He had an when you look at the stats, he had an atrocious season last year, and he essentially just played his way into a contract somewhere
in the playoffs. He earned himself a contract.
Strictly earned himself a contract.
I agree with that.
But honestly, like, if I'm the Yankees, you look at what Aaron Judge just did. Like, would I rather have a regular season hero that chokes in the playoffs, or would I rather have a guy that maybe isn't so good in the regular season and does what he does in the postseason? Look at Giancarlo Stanton. Mm-hmm. Like, I would take Giancarlo Stanton's season any day over Aaron Judge's season this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's without a doubt. That's a bold statement.
Without a doubt.
Big takes.
Aaron Judge, he had an MVP season, but
he got you there. He did
get you there.
He can't do it when it matters. Doesn't matter. It's been the same thing every single year with Judge.
Yeah.
Every single year.
So what other holes do the Yankees need to fill?
You got to just keep that bullpen. Keep the bullpen. You got to get some. I mean, that starting pitching. The starting pitchers are. It's gonna be really interesting to see what they do with guys like Nestor, guys like Cole, who's gonna be on a contract year. They didn't offer him any sort of extension yet. Luis Gil, you'll have coming back. Yeah, they're young for the most part in the bullpen. So you have Luke Weaver. They just paid Luke Weaver, like, his club option was like $2.5 million, and he's like without a doubt the best pitcher on this team. So it's just getting more help, getting more arms, getting guys that complement each other coming out of the bullpen. You got to get Tim Hill back on that team. I love Tim Hill. Just guys like that. When with pitchers, I'm not too worried because Matt Blake has been fantastic with getting those lower level guys from teams, lower level free agents, and turning them into really good players.
Yeah.
So I don't have any names yet because I haven't really looked at it, but I'll come back to you with a few lower tier names that I think Matt Blake can turn into a superstar.
Maria, going back to Juan Soto real quick, who do you think is going to get Juan Soto? Do you think it'll be the Yankees? Do you think it'll be the Mets? Or do you think he goes outside New York and plays for like the Toronto Blue Jays?
I thought for a while that the Giants were still in the mix to snag the biggest fish in the pond, but right now, I think the Yankees are the ones that are going to snag him. I think we would be remiss not to say that there's emotion mixed into this. And I mean, with the World Series, the way it just played out, I think they've got to keep Soto with Soto. I completely agree with what you said in terms of the Mets being in a financially beneficial spot for the next few years. Definitely could be an interesting competition there, but I think he stays with the Yanks. That's all we've got for MLB free agency. Next segment, we are talking about college football picks. My favorite. Stay tuned.
Tuesday, the Orange.
Great job, y'all. That was so interesting. I was like, I don't know.
I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous.
The worst thing about MLB free agency is that it takes way too long. Like in the NFL, when free agency, like that tampering period, like you find out free agents in 2 seconds.
No, I know.
It's so awesome. You're like, oh my God, my team just got this person, this person. You find out instantly. But with MLB free agency, Soto's probably not going to sign until the winter meetings in December. And it's like, it's just going to be rumor mill after rumor mill after rumor mill, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, if the Mets get Soto, though, oh, baby.
That would be really cool. I mean, he's going to go where the money is.
Yeah.
Truly. But I don't know. With Pete Alonso, at least, like, I feel like there's emotion tied into it. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, there's just a difference in terms of, like,
he's a
homer.
He's a homegrown Met. We drafted him second round, fresh out of college.
Yeah.
And worked his way up and was our Stars first baseman for 5-6 years. So, yeah, it's crazy. Crazy.
Oh, I think I forgot to do our promo. This hour of Newhouse Afternoon is brought to you, so I'll throw it in.
Yeah, just throw it in there. Yeah, you're good. Jake, I'm sorry about game one.
That was how I knew it was done. Like, after game one, I was checked out.
Nah, that's not true. That was awful. It couldn't have been game one.
That was awful. It was absolutely game one. Freddie Freeman hit that home run, and I was, like, in shambles. I just couldn't do it. I don't know why we kept pitching to him.
Yeah.
He just wouldn't stop hitting home runs. He just actually would not stop doing it.
Trust me, we dealt with that with Tommy Edman in the NLCS. Like, he was killing us. Couldn't get him out. He literally bat 500 in the NLCS, and then
I'd rather get killed by Freddie Freeman than Tommy Edman.
No, I know.
That's fair.
And then literally, like, I think it was game one, he made an error at shortstop. It was like a ground ball, and then like it went past him, or he muffed it or something. And all of Mets Twitter is like, of course, like he plays his best series against us, and then he like makes an error in the NLCS. It's going to be awesome, like when he actually signs Soto. Hopefully it happens like before our next show. Imagine. I don't think it will either, unless Steve goes to wherever he's meeting. And he's like, hey.
Do you think he's signed by Thanksgiving?
I really don't think he's signing until the winter meetings, but I don't think it'll be like a Freddie Freeman where he signs the week before spring training. Like that's not going to happen. I saw the Mets connected to Willy Adames today. That's interesting. I don't know, a lot of different things on the table. I love free agency. MLB free agency is the most interesting.
I'll try and give my quick takes per each one and see how you guys feel about.
We completely own that segment. So
I love that you own that segment.
This is all you.
I love it, but I like to see what you guys think about. I'll make a prediction about who wins, and there's a few close ones this week. Like with Ole Miss Georgia, that's a big one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's going to be a close one, and with Carson Beck deteriorating, could be. Indiana Michigan is going to be interesting, and Alabama LSU. I mean, we've got 3 good ones this time.
Love it. I didn't even know that this was here.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It's cool.
I don't think I know anyone who's going to the Boston College game this weekend.
My roommate is covering it, but
all of my
nice.
friends are going.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
they're all
awesome.
going
I
to
love
Boston. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'd rather go home.
Okay.
yo, Rutgers plus 5.5.
They fell off so hard.
My boys down there in New Brunswick.
You from Jersey?
Yeah,
Where?
Bergen County.
Oh, word.
Bergen.
Somerset County.
Steve Angeli.
Gotcha.
So I'm like,
Steve Angeli.
I'm like literally 15 minutes from Rutgers.
I'm taking Ole Miss all day. Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Maria Wainscott. Joined with me is Ari Feinstein and Jacob Charno. This hour of Newhouse Afternoon is powered by Drivers Village Cicero. Go to dvoffers.com for more info. Wrapping up our amazing show today is our favorite college football segment. It is all of our picks for the biggest games happening this weekend. Week 11 of college football. I cannot believe we are here. The college football playoff race is really starting to take shape with just a few weeks left. Many schools are cementing their cases to be included in the first ever 12-team field, while others are hoping to simply keep their playoff hopes alive. The game number one that we are talking about today on our show is number 3 Georgia Bulldogs versus the number 16 Ole Miss Rebels. It's 3:30 on Saturday on ABC. This game is make or break for Ole Miss. The storyline basically is do or die for Ole Miss. With their current record, they cannot afford another loss. A 10-2 SEC team with a win over Georgia likely makes that 12-team final bracket, but this is the biggest game for them in years for Ole Miss and Jackson Dart. They certainly have the talent to compete with Georgia, but the battle in the trenches will decide it. Georgia's pass protection has been elite all year. They rank 8th currently in pass blocking and allowing pressures at one of the lowest rates in the country. But Ole Miss's counters, they counter with the second highest graded defensive line in college football. So to me, with a deteriorating Carson Beck, this is going to be a much closer game than people think. I'm taking Georgia 24, Ole Miss 20. What do you think, Jacob?
Maria, this might be the first time we've disagreed on a pick. Ole Miss, the Rebels are my boys down there. I love this team. I'm also very low on Carson Beck, watching him essentially play himself back into another year of college, going from a possible first-round pick all the way down to maybe needing to play another year at Georgia. He has been really disappointing for the Bulldogs this year. Jax Dart, that's my guy.
Yeah.
That's my guy. I mean, he's my draft crush. He's fantastic. That team is just electric. I'm going to take Ole Miss on the money line at plus 112. Score prediction, I'll give you Ole Miss 27, Georgia 25.
Okay.
Although Jacob and I did disagree last segment, I'm going to have to agree with Jacob this time around. I'm taking Ole Miss over Georgia. Georgia really struggled against Florida,
They did.
and they're not a great team. And the fact that they're the number 3 team in the nation and they barely squeaked out a win, it's just hard to think that they're going to perform their best against number 16 ranked Ole Miss. And also, like Jacob said, it's really going to come down to the quarterback play. Jackson Dart, he's been having one heck of a season. And like Jacob said, Carson Beck, he's played his way out. He's played his way out of the first round and literally might have to come back just to prove himself again. Yeah. So I think this is going to be the time where Georgia folds ultimately and Ole Miss is going to take the
Yeah, I love what you said about the Florida game. That was not supposed to be a close game. Everybody knows that. But what that tells me about Georgia as a team is that they let emotions and stakes play into their play on the field. They can't let those external factors disrupt them if they are looking to maintain their 10-2 record right now. All right, moving on to the Michigan Wolverines at number 8, the Michigan Wolverines who are unranked versus the number 8 Indiana Hoosiers, 3:30 on CBS.
That's my other squad.
This is going to be an exciting weekend of college football. I mean, the potential playoff clincher that this game would be for the Indiana Hoosiers is so exciting. I can't even believe that I'm saying it, but the Hoosiers can all but clinch a spot this weekend for the college football playoff with a win over Michigan on Saturday. If they beat the defending national champs, they'll move to 10-0 on the season with games against Ohio State and Purdue remaining, which in my opinion, I think the Hoosiers can absolutely tackle. The story of this game is an explosive offense in the Indiana Hoosiers versus a very lackluster defensive coverage unit for the Wolverines. As a unit, the Wolverines linebackers and secondary group are ranked 66th in PFF grade as a unit, while their 74.6 team coverage grade is 90th in FBS, which is just not good at all, right? So with that explosive offense from Indiana matched up against this subpar coverage and secondary, I'm taking Indiana 33, Michigan 17.
I love that. I mean, if you're an Indiana fan or a Michigan fan and you're looking at this line all the way back in August and it's 14.5 for Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, what a shock that would be. But Indiana has lived up to every expectation and exceeded them.
Yeah.
Like, they are just such a fun team to watch. You want to talk about momentum. I mean, they are probably the hottest team in college football right now, without a doubt.
Genuinely.
Give me Indiana minus 14.5. Final score prediction. Honestly, I like that score. I like, what was it, 33-17? I love that.
I'm riding the same wave. Right now, you can't bet against this Indiana team.
Nope.
I mean, they've given you every single reason to believe in them, that they're going to take this game. I think that they also come up on top against Michigan, but I'm really excited for what's to come for Indiana because, yes, they have played super well over the course of the season. Their toughest matchup will come against Ohio State, who just had a big win against Penn State. And that team, that could be the Big Ten championship. It could literally be the Ohio State versus Indiana to see who wins the Big Ten. So I'm still a little like on the fence about Indiana sometimes because, you know, they had a few big wins, but I'm really looking forward to next week's game. But first, they have to take care of business against Michigan, which I think they do.
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. I mean, we need to remember too that the Hoosiers winning this game could be 10 games for the first time in program history, and all but secure their spot in the CFP. And it cements themselves too as like the Cinderella story of college football, which is really exciting. And that's what I love about this new 12-team college football playoff format. Moving on to our third most important game of this week, the number 11 Alabama Crimson Tide at number 15. LSU, 7:30 p.m. on ABC. The biggest storyline to know, this is a playoff elimination game. Simply put, the loser of this game is effectively eliminated from the college football playoff contention. Both Alabama and LSU sport a 6-2 record, and a third loss would likely be the death roll for both of their playoff hopes. The Crimson Tide and the Tigers, they don't play another currently ranked team, so the path to the playoffs is pretty much impossible if one of them takes this loss. We've talked about this before on the show, especially with the Georgia-Alabama face-off, but Milroe is a big play waiting to happen for Alabama. Thanks to his arm strength and his incredible superhuman mobility, he leads all Power 4 quarterbacks with 12 rushing touchdowns, while his 91 passing grade on a 10-plus yard throw is 35th among all quarterbacks in America. On throws under 10 air yards, that figure drops to 84th, though. So that is showing that he is completely different on how he executes under pressure. That's going to be the key for LSU, but they've had issues. That's their biggest issue with the mobile quarterbacks in the past. They can't seem to lock them up on that protection. I'm taking Alabama 37, LSU 24. Milroe has a big day against the Tigers and keeps the playoff hopes alive for the Crimson Tide.
I think it'll be a little bit closer than that, but I do think Alabama ends up taking it, getting themselves into that playoff. I would be very shocked if they didn't. I'll say Alabama 30 and LSU 25.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm riding with you guys. I think LSU is going to die in Death Valley this weekend. I think that Alabama is going to cruise over LSU. Jalen Milroe, he's had every single time you've gone against him, we've been wrong. So can't bet against Milroe, and I think that he's going to lead Alabama past LSU.
All right. I'm going to do my little 60-second quick breakdown of all the games this week that I like. We'll start in college football. I think Georgia Tech covers the 10.5 against Miami at home this week. I like Colorado against Texas Tech. I'm Shador. And then, honestly, like this is my gut feeling pick of the week, Maryland plus 23.5 against Oregon. Something weird is going to happen this week.
That would be crazy.
Then we got an NFL parlay real quick. 2 legs, real easy, plus 213 in a parlay. We'll go Commanders money line against the Steelers. I just love Jaden Daniels, and I love what they're doing down there in Washington. Dan Quinn probably going to win head coach of the year. And then Bills minus 3.5 at the Colts. You're taking Josh Allen versus Joe Flacco. It's a matchup of power. I'm going to take Josh Allen and the Bills. Even though they do tend to play down to their competition sometimes, I'll still take Buffalo to cover the 3.5 against Indy.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I think we're all in agreement with your picks, Jacob. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into Newhouse Afternoon this Friday. If we don't get to see you before Thanksgiving, have a happy Thanksgiving. We will see you on our next show.
This is Orange Nation.